Hello, my fellow career designers. I am excited to be here today to talk about one topic that I find really interesting, and it gets to the crux of so much advice that people are given about how to make career decisions. And basically, it's a little bit of that balance between pragmatism and idealism. Now, I primarily work with idealists, people who want to make the world a better place, and and I am one of those people too. So I have lived the experience of making career decisions based on, um, you know, I don't want to say heavy-handed idealism, but stars in my eyes and rose-colored glasses, and um, I'm going to change the world to I need a paycheck. And to be honest, neither of those approaches worked for me, and most of them don't really work for my clients. So, so I want to talk a little bit about these two different options, where that advice comes from, and how people generally use that advice, and then how you can combine the two. For those people who are more idealistic, how can you become more practical? For those of you who are really pragmatist, how do you make sure that you're not missing something that is a better fit for you because you're not thinking big enough? And throughout all of this, there are definitely aspects in my career design studio that can help with this. And we can talk about that a little bit as well. So first of all, let's just start with kind of what I clung to when I was younger as a great career strategy, and that was to follow your bliss. So that quote, as far as I can tell, comes from Joseph Campbell, and and in some ways, it is a really interesting way of living your life. It is to pay attention to what are the things that make you happy, that are engaging, where you really feel like you're in the flow, and to follow that where it leads. And so some of that is also this concept of having a calling, um, destiny, fate. I was born to do this, those kinds of ideas. And one of the challenges is that it's really hard to act on that. How do you write a resume to help you follow your bliss? What job title does that turn into? And if there's not a job, then how do I create that? So there's just a whole lot of challenges when follow your bliss is what you try to turn into a job. And so when I was really trying to live this, was in my college days, and I knew that I wanted international career, and again, I was really idealistic. Like, I wanted to help the oppressed and the disempowered, and so I interned with the Tanzania Media Women's Association in Tanzania, of all places, and these were just really amazing feminist women who were passionate about the treatment that women were receiving in their society, and how to support them in overcoming challenges like domestic violence, HIV and AIDS, poverty, and basically help them to have more control over their lives. And so one of the things that was a challenge for me is that I didn't have a lot of practical skills to offer them. I was good at filing. I was a good writer. I wrote well in English, and they had an English language magazine, so I helped and edited that. But there was really nothing at that point in my life where I could justify taking a job from somebody who needed it more. And so I wasn't, not great at science and organic chemistry. And so, kind of going into the public health perspective wasn't going to be a good fit for me. And I just didn't really understand the concept of international development. It was kind of poverty fighting. And that was something that I was really excited about. Now, I was a theater minor in my degree. And so I actually wrote a really awesome dissertation on using theater to empower women in African countries. And so in some ways, I did really follow my bliss. I was really looking to see what got me engaged and how that could be helpful for people. But I could not, for the life of me, figure out how to turn that into a job to pay off my student loans. And so I did my best. I applied for jobs, but I didn't do much research. I didn't do any networking whatsoever. I just crossed my fingers and ended up working at the same organization that my mom worked at. So my first job out of college was it wasn't complete nepotism, but it had flavors of nepotism. And to be honest, that is how most jobs happen. Not nepotism, but by people who know you and know that you're looking for a job and they're working and something opens up, they recommend you, and boom, there you are. And so the challenge with that strategy, so that's a little bit more on the pragmatic side. There's a job available, you're recommended, you get hired. Okay, problem solved. You can now pay your student loans. And the challenge with that is that I didn't get a job that was a really good fit for me. And I was, program administrator. I was responsible for lots of paperwork and crossing T's and dotting I's. That is not my strength. And so that is some of the challenge with pragmatism. You think about what can you do, not what do you want to do. And those are really the shifts for those of you who are more pragmatic. And the way that I really structure this, and that we've kind of structured this in my career design studio, is to start with what you really want, to own that, to lean into that, and then from there and work towards that, and then find your path to try to get as close to that as you can. And so you want to have something that you're shooting for. And if you don't quite make it, at least you're moving in the right direction. So that's one of the things that I really encourage my clients to think about is like, if money, obstacle, and ability were no issue, what would you want to be doing? And then once we've got a little bit of clarity about that, then I ask questions about, so what is it about that particular job that is interesting to you, that is engaging for you? And often it has nothing whatsoever to do with the actual work. It is status, it is salary, it is the romance of it. But when you really start looking at what it takes to get there, that might not be quite as exciting. And so, for example, a lot of people want to write books and make their living as a best-selling author. But when you really kind of dive into that a little bit more, it's more that lifestyle. It is the interviews that people see of authors or actors, what the benefits of some of those positions that are much more enticing than spending 8 hours a day in isolation, tapping away at your screen and writing a lot of crap and doing a lot of editing. And then there comes the marketing. And so the nuts and bolts of being a best-selling author is not always as exciting as the idea of it. But once you ask yourself the why, then that starts creating what I call career design essentials. So I want a job with a big salary, for example. Then I go and want to break that down. Why do you, what is a big salary to you? How would you use that money? What do you want to be doing? Because if money is your only goal and you don't think about what does that get you, then so many people just get caught up in this race of more and more and more, and none of it brings them joy. So that's really what we're looking for, is finding the work that can support the life that you want to live, that brings you joy. And for some people, that equation might be that I want a job that pays my bills and supports the kind of life I live and doesn't burn me out, so that I can do this other thing that gives me joy that I don't want to make my living doing. So often that's like playing music or different kinds of hobbies or crafts or traveling. And I mentioned I wanted to do international work, and I work with a lot of people who want to do international work. And again, often the idea of what that means, for me, it was living and working in Tanzania, helping women get out of poverty. And the reality of a lot of international jobs is a lot of time spent on planes and in offices, and you don't even really realize you're in a different country most of the time, because you spend all of your time within the confines of the company that you work for. And so that, for me, it was that cross-cultural interaction. It was also the personal learning that I got from that. And, most jobs don't pay you to learn or to grow. That's your responsibility. That's what you need to do. Make sure that you have the time to do that. If you can do it within your job, that's great. But what you want to know is what's important to you. And then from there, you figure out what parts of that help me with my job and that I want to get paid doing, and what parts of that are in my life in general. So let's just take a quick look at different things that you can do in my career design studio to help with this process. And so I mentioned, if money, object, and ability were, if money, ability, and education were no object, what would you want to do? So in my career design studio, we've got something called an activity called My 9 Lives. And you can tell that I really took this seriously. But really what this, what that is, that same question, but I make you do it over and over and over again, because then you really start to kind of stretch your thinking. You start remembering what was important to you as a child. So if I was going to do this again, so circus performer, I was so excited with trapeze artist when I was a kid, and astronomer. Okay. But so you get the idea. Oh, so I definitely wanted to be a therapist. And so some of these are really specific, some of these might be really, really general, but then what you do is start asking yourself, so what is it about being a teacher that is really important to me? So engaging, teaching them, that's obvious, but actually when I was did some TA work at my university, I realized there's a lot of teaching that I don't really like. I don't like grading papers. I like talking in front of people. So that's why I do live streams and things like this rather than, sit with a stack of papers with my red marker and check people's grammar. That does not make me happy. Some people love that stuff. Those are the people that should be doing that. So once we've got some ideas about what is it that you want to do, then you can add these 2 career design essentials. So I want to work in a place that allows me to perform, gives me physical challenges, and then other things. As you go through this, you're like, oh, this is important to me. So helping people make their lives better. So this is where things get a little bit more pragmatic. All right, so I'm going to submit that. And so then we're taking abstract ideas and breaking them down into some components that can actually be acted upon. Then another aspect of my career design studio that's really helpful is in the napkin sketch. So we've got an activity called my career design essentials. And so this is a list of everything that throughout the program that you've gone through, programs tracking it, and brings it together in one list. And so this really is something to help you think through what is important to you. And then you can, add to it. And so this is a really good place to start when you're thinking about the different kinds of jobs. Is this particular job title in harmony with my own personal values and beliefs? And so that's where you start meshing those two of idealism and practicality. And then we get into my career design priorities, and it takes it a step further. Which of these is actually a have to have, where you really, if you don't have that, you're going to be depressed or go crazy. And so that again forces you to get a little bit more pragmatic. But this all makes things a lot more actionable. And that's really what we're going for, is creating a blueprint, a foundation for your future that is exciting and interesting enough for you to do the hard work it's going to take to get you there. So the reason why I say that is because very few things that we want fall into our laps. And the people that succeed in what they do, that they are the thought leaders, they are the people who write books or who are interviewed and whose names you know and you know a lot of other people know. They work really hard at something. You don't get to be great at something by sitting at home and playing computer games. It just, even if you get sponsored to play computer games, then you have to take it up a notch. So you might love what you do, but it doesn't mean that there's no work. It just means that most of the time you're enjoying it. And when there are those inevitable tough times, that you are clear enough about what you want, that you find a way over, around, under those obstacles to keep moving forward. That's what sets you up for success. That's what sets you up for a meaningful, fulfilling, and happy life. That's really what we're going for here in this group and with my career design studio. It is to help you find your meaningful, fulfilling, and happy life that supports, your meaningful, fulfilling job that supports the happy life that you want to live. Hopefully the job is happy too. So I would love to hear from you if anybody has been able to kind of take their dream job that might be completely idealistic and impractical and turn it into something that worked for them, and what were the surprises that they found along the way. I would love to hear from you. So please leave a note in the comment section, and otherwise I will see all of you next week when we will be talking about the nuts and bolts of planning for your future. All right, have a great day, and I will see you then.